Lieutenant Soller's log. Falcon 1 has been called to the Hawking Nebula to assist with the safe transport of a shipload of colonists to Hawking 1, the planet located within the phenomenon. The nebula itself is comprised mainly of oxytetracene gas, which renders sensors and visual navigation virtually useless, while prolonged exposure can cause a ship's engines to explode. To combat this, the Space Guard has constructed a large energy-emitting station, affectionately named the Lighthouse, that uses a series of accelerated polaron beams to guide ships through the nebula in relatively quick time. The most recent colony ship was lost due to a malfunction in the Lighthouse's beam array, so the Space Guard has ordered us to ensure the next passage goes smoothly. Falcon 1 will support the transport ship through the nebula, while Professor Summers and I assist Dr. McGregor, the scientist in charge of the array, aboard the Lighthouse.
Alright, bringing emitter 5 into alignment in 3, 2, 1, locked.
Confirmed. All 5 emitters are in position. Ready for test fire at your signal, Professor.
Very good. Lighthouse to Falcon 1, ready to begin polaron beam test cycle.
Falcon 1 to Lighthouse. Acknowledge, Professor. We're ready whenever you are.
All systems are go at my end.
Same here. Dr. McGregor, bring the array up to full power. McGregor, where has that man got to? For a lighthouse keeper, he doesn't seem all that concerned with keeping his lighthouse in order.
Solar to McGregor, where are you? Please report to the control room.
What? Yes, coming.
Honestly, how that man got posted to a position as vital as this one is beyond me.
The Space Guard wouldn't have posted him to the Lighthouse if he weren't the best fit for the job. Supposedly he's an expert in accelerated polaron beam technology.
Sorry, I was, busy.
Yes, well, never mind that. Just get the array powered up and ready for the test.
And make sure you watch those power levels closely. Everything looks okay now, but you said everything was fine before the last power drain that affected the array. We don't want to risk losing another transport ship, let alone Falcon 1.
Yes. Watch the power levels. Energy array now at full power.
Alright, let's give it a try. 5 beams on my mark. Now.
Lieutenant Solar to Falcon 1. Test beams have now been fired.
Copy that, Lieutenant. Telemetry being received now.
Confirmation from transport ship that they've received the telemetry as well.
Initial course into the nebula confirmed. We're ready to enter.
Acknowledged, Falcon 1. Set course into the nebula when ready.
Falcon 1 to transport ship. We've received the all clear to enter the nebula. Are you ready to proceed?
Affirmative, Falcon 1. Ready when you are.
Be sure to keep within 2 kilometers ahead of us so we can keep you in visual range. We don't want to lose you in there. Falcon 1 out. Take us in, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. Accelerating to 1/20th of light speed. We've now entered the Hawking Nebula, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. Are we still receiving the navigation telemetry from the Lighthouse?
Yes, sir. The signal is quite strong. All other sensors have just cut out, though, so we've only got the Lighthouse to rely on from this point. It really does seem like an awful lot of trouble to go through just to reach this one planet.
Well, when the oxytetracene gas interacts with the atmosphere of Hawking 1, it's transformed into a form of raw energy that our scientists have never seen before. It appears completely harmless to human life, so if it can be captured and studied, the possibilities for research and development are enormous.
So as far as the Space Guard are concerned, the potential benefits outweigh the risks?
Something like that. Although, after the disaster that befell the last transport ship, I certainly have my doubts.
89 people, all killed. Such a tragedy.
Agreed. Let's just hope nothing else goes wrong.
We're receiving the reflection from the polaron beams, Professor. It shows both ships on the correct course for Hawking 1. We'll need to fire the second set of beams in precisely 4.5 minutes.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Calculating their trajectories now. Dr. McGregor, how are the power levels for the array? Dr. McGregor.
Oh, yes. Power levels are optimal. For now.
What's that?
It can't be! I'm reading a power drain in the main generator. The auxiliary generator is offline too. How is that possible? We triple-checked those systems and they were all completely fine.
Well, they're not fine anymore. Beam integrity dropping to 87% and falling.
Falcon 1 to Lighthouse. What's going on out there? Sergeant Hawk says we're losing telemetry.
Stand by, Falcon 1. We're having some trouble, but we're on it. Okay, Professor, what can we do?
In theory, we can perform a reboot of the main generator to reset the power levels to optimal. The array will be offline for approximately 60 seconds, but if we align the emitters beforehand, we can target Falcon 1 and the transport ship, and immediately send the new beams to the correct position. That way we don't risk losing both ships in the void.
The generators can only be reset at the source, so someone will have to go down to the power room.
Right, I'll head there and wait for your signal. Falcon 1 and transport ship from Lighthouse. We have an emergency. There's no time to explain. Cut your engines and hold your position exactly. Then await further instructions. Please acknowledge.
Acknowledged. Coming to a stop now.
Acknowledged. Holding position.
Right, I'm heading down to the power room.
Okay, Lieutenant. Dr. McGregor, we need to align the array to Falcon 1's current position.
Solar to Summers. I'm inside the power room now.
Good. The main computer terminal should be directly ahead of you.
I see it.
Right. Key in the shutdown sequence.
What?
What's wrong, Lieutenant?
Nothing's responding.
I'm now reading a power build-up in the main generator.
Well, it's not me. All my commands are being instantly overwritten. I'm completely locked out.
I don't understand how we can go from a total power drain to a power build-up so quickly. At this rate, the power surge is going to overload the array within minutes. That would send an energy pulse that can knock both Falcon 1 and the transport ship out of position. Dr. McGregor, what do you suggest we do? Dr. McGregor? Dr. McGregor, what do you... Oh!
Professor? Solar to Summers, come in. Solar to McGregor, do you read me? Nothing. Nothing's working. I need to get back to the control room. The door! I'm locked in, and the emitters are about to overload.
What's going on at the Lighthouse? We've heard nothing from them in nearly 10 minutes.
Whatever the emergency is, I'm sure they're onto it, Sergeant. What happened, Sergeant?
I'm not sure, sir. Something hit us. I don't know what, though.
See what information you can get from the computer. Main sensors are non-functional, but maybe the internal sensors can tell us something.
I think we've been knocked out of position? The internal sensors are reading displacement of our atmosphere that seems to suggest we've just moved very violently.
How far out of position?
No way to tell, sir. It could be a few meters, it could be 200 kilometers.
Falcon 1 to Lighthouse. Falcon 1 to Lighthouse. Come in. Lighthouse, please respond. Nothing. Do we still have eyes on the transport ship?
I don't see it. It should be right in front of us.
Damn it. Falcon 1 to transport ship. We've lost sight of you. Do you read me? Come in, transport ship. This is Falcon 1.
Do you think they could have been destroyed? Perhaps their ship couldn't cope with whatever it was that hit us.
If their engines were damaged and the oxytetracine somehow got into the internal workings, it's possible. But it could just be that their communication system has been knocked out.
So, what are we going to do?
How long do we have before our engines receive too much exposure to the gas?
There's no way to tell for sure. The reaction is highly unpredictable. We've been in the nebula for about 15 minutes, and to my knowledge, no explosion has ever occurred in less than 30 minutes. After that time, anything could happen.
So we've got about a 15-minute margin for error. Perfect.
If only we could get some kind of signal from the lighthouse. Maybe we could use it to guide ourselves?
Perhaps there's a way we can generate our own polaron beams and bounce them off the lighthouse.
I just wish the professor were here. He'd know what to do.
We're gonna need to enlist the help of someone else.
What's going on? Lieutenant, where are you? Why am I tied to this chair?
So many questions, but without the capacity to understand the answers.
Dr. McGregor? Yes. I remember now. You caused the power surge that was overloading the lighthouse's beam emitter.
Yes, that was me.
And the malfunction that destroyed the last transport ship?
Yes, that was also me. But I assure you, It was quite necessary.
Where's Lieutenant Solar?
She won't be interfering anymore. Oh, don't worry. She is still alive. As much as she ever was.
Why? Why kill all those people?
Kill? I didn't kill anybody. Not really. You see, life, consciousness, as you understand it, is just an illusion. A byproduct of that grey, squishy mess of an organ in your skull attempting to process information. You're nothing more than a fleshy reservoir of potential energy, a two-dimensional stream of ones and zeros projected onto the skin of the universe. You're not truly alive, like me. I'm different, you see. Your eyes simply detect obstacles and interpret information from a narrow slice of the light spectrum, but my eyes can see. Your brain is nothing more than a glorified calculator operating on pure instinct, but my brain can think. My whole life, I've been the only living thing in a universe of soulless bags of genetic data. Until I found the nebula. It's alive too, you see. It speaks to me. It needs my help. It needs the energy from the oxytetracene explosions to grow, to evolve to a higher form, to become something far greater than this universe has ever known. So, you see, I didn't really kill anybody. I merely converted energy from one form to another. Soon, the nebula and I will be one, and I'll never have to be alone again.
You're mad. You'll never get away with this. One ship destroyed may seem like an accident, but a second one wouldn't go unnoticed. The Space Guard will investigate and they'll lock you up. They'll take you away from your nebula and you'll be alone forever.
Oh, no one will ever take me away from the nebula. You see, once the transport ship and Falcon 1 are destroyed, it will only need one more explosion to begin its transformation. So, I'm going to destroy the Lighthouse, and my body will be converted into more energy for it to consume, and my consciousness will merge with that of the nebulas, and together we shall ascend beyond this puny universe. I've started an overload in the reactor. It won't be long now.
Okay, Bob, is everything all set?
I've made the necessary adjustments to the forward cannon to turn it into a polaron beam emitter. It's a bit makeshift, so it will be quite limited. But, being a human, you should be used to that by now.
What do you mean, limited?
Well, we won't be able to use the beams to plot a course, and we won't be able to detect the transport ship, but if we can bounce a beam off the lighthouse, it will provide just enough of a trace to guide us to it.
Alright, I'll get down to the forward cannon bay and start firing. There's no time to lose.
Ready, Bob?
I suppose so.
Okay, firing now. Are we getting anything, Sergeant?
No bounce backs yet, sir. Make sure you're firing in all directions, not just in a circle. We may have been knocked out of position vertically as well as horizontally.
Acknowledged. Already on it. How much longer do we have?
The margin for error expires in 7 minutes.
We've just received a bounce back from the lighthouse. Thought you might be interested.
Did you get a fix on the position, Bob?
I think so. Adjust the cannon 8 degrees to starboard and 4 degrees down, then fire another beam. Confirmed. We've made contact.
I have a rough course now, sir. I'm moving forward.
Acknowledged, Sergeant. How far away are we?
Hard to tell, sir. These low-level polaron beams don't provide that level of detail. We'll only get an accurate idea once we enter visual range.
Any sign yet, Sergeant?
Nothing, sir, but surely we must be getting close now. What's that?
We're receiving some kind of transmission, but the oxytetracine is interfering with the reception. It's a rather irritating sound. Then again, I find all sounds irritating.
If it's coming from the lighthouse, it could mean we're getting closer. Hopefully the transmission clears the nearer we get.
It's Falcon 1. This is Lieutenant Solar. Come in, Falcon 1. Do you read me? This is an emergency. Please respond.
Falcon 1 to Solar. We read you, Lieutenant.
Oh, Sergeant, thank goodness. Where are you?
Well, we don't know exactly. Somehow we got knocked out of position, and we've had to kind of jerry-rig our own polaron beam emitter to find you. We're on our way now.
Sergeant, you have to be quick. A malfunction in the lighthouse caused the beam emitter to overload with an energy pulse. That's what knocked you out of position. I came down to the power room to try and fix it before I got sealed in and locked out of the controls.
What exactly happened, Lieutenant?
I'm not completely sure. I've lost contact with the professor, and I think Dr. McGregor is responsible. From the instruments down here, it looks like the lighthouse reactor's rigged to overload. McGregor was out of our sight for about 10 minutes before we began the polaron test cycle. This is what he must have been doing. I've managed to stall the detonation by manually disconnecting some power relays, but it's only a temporary fix. I'll need to gain access to the station's control room to stop the overload completely.
Commander, we've just come into visual range of the lighthouse. It worked.
You're welcome.
Standing by to initiate docking procedure. We'll be station-bound in 2 minutes.
Okay, this is the plan. Sergeant, as soon as we've docked, completely shut down the engines. We can't have long left before we risk an explosion. You and I will head straight up to the control room, apprehend Dr. McGregor, stop the overload, and set about finding and saving the transport ship. Bob, you get down to the reactor room and free the lieutenant. Then wait for our signal to reconnect all the relays up to the reactors. Then you can both join us up top. Sit tight, Lieutenant. We're on our way.
Why won't you overload? My commands aren't getting through.
Maybe your nebula is sending you a sign to stop this madness.
Silence! There must be some explanation. Lieutenant Solar. She must be blocking my commands at the reactors themselves. Well now, we'll see about that. McGregor to Lieutenant Solar. I'm sure you think you're very clever, trying to sabotage my plans. But I now have a gun pointed at Professor Summers' head. Isn't that right, Professor?
He's telling the truth, Lieutenant.
I'm going to give you 2 minutes to cease your efforts, or your professor gets his pitiful human excuse for a brain blown out.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
What? Who is that?
Commander Ryder of Falcon 1. Now there's no need to do anything stupid here. Just put down your weapon and release the professor before anybody gets hurt.
No, I won't give up now. Not when I'm so close.
Sergeant, he hasn't seen you. If I give you covering fire for a few moments, do you think you can slip into the control room and take cover behind one of the computer panels? You might be able to take him out from the other side.
I'll try, sir.
Okay, be ready. Come on, Doctor. You know we can't let you destroy the station. There's no way out of this for you. Why don't you come quietly and save us all a lot of trouble? Okay, buddy. You asked for it.
No more games. If you don't throw your weapon down by the count of 3, then I will shoot Professor Summers. 1, 2, ah!
He's down, sir.
Well done, Sergeant. Professor, how do we stop the overload?
Turn all the energy distribution dials on that panel over there back to safety levels.
Right. Phew, that was close.
All right, Professor. Let's get you free.
Ryder to Solar. We've subdued Dr. McGregor. Reconnect the power relays to the reactor, then get up here.
Okay, sir. I'm on it.
Right. Professor, we must only have minutes left to find the transport ship and guide it to Hawking 1. What do we do?
Well, without knowing the exact position of the transport ship, it won't be easy. We'll need to adjust the emitters' positions to cover the broadest possible range, and fire a series of polaron beams until we get a bounce back from the ship itself. Then we can guide them to the planet before their engines explode. Sergeant, you try to repair the communication system so we can get in contact with the transport ship.
Will do, Professor.
Commander, you take over the power controls and... Lieutenant, there you are. You can adjust the emitter arrays while I write the new programs for the beam firing sequence.
Yes, Professor.
What do you want me to do?
You can guard Dr. McGregor in case he wakes up.
You know, sometimes I think you'd be happier with a guard dog than with a robot.
Oh, and while you're at it, here, take my palm scanner and run a scan of the good doctor's brain. He must have been mentally sound when he got this assignment, or the Space Guard's psychiatric evaluators wouldn't have passed him. I want to find out what's caused him to become so delusional.
Power levels optimal.
Bringing the final emitter array online now.
Good. Just give me one moment. Okay, I'm ready, and there's no time to lose. Firing continuous beam sequence in 3, 2, 1.
I'm not seeing anything, Professor.
Just have to give it a little time, Lieutenant.
We don't really have that much time to give.
I know. Come on.
Yes! We've got a contact! Sending you the coordinates.
Wonderful. Plotting trajectory and preparing to send telemetry.
How are those comms coming, Sergeant?
Just finishing, sir. You should be able to contact them now.
Lighthouse to transport ship. This is Commander Ryder. Do you read me?
Commander Ryder, are we glad to hear from you? What's been happening? We've only just now received new telemetry from the Lighthouse.
No time to explain. What is your status?
We're in trouble. Our engines have been exposed to the oxytetracycline for too long, and they're starting to overheat. Our engineer estimates we have about 3 minutes before we explode.
We're going to have to improvise. Transport ship, are your teleport devices functional?
Yes, but due to the gas, we have to be within 100 kilometers of the atmosphere for them to be effective. We'll never make it in time.
Listen carefully. Use the telemetry you've just received to plot a direct course to Hawking 1. Then I want you to initiate a light speed burst for precisely 3.5 seconds. If my calculations are accurate, that should put you near enough to the planet for your teleport to work. Hopefully you'll have enough time to teleport everyone down to the planet before the explosion. Now, what I've just said might sound crazy, but it's our best chance.
All right, it's worth a try. Stand by.
We've stopped receiving the bounce back from the polaron beams.
They must have made the jump to light speed.
That's it. The ship's exploded. Do you think they made it in time?
Come in, Lighthouse. We're all okay. The last of us just made it out in one piece. We're all safely on the surface. Thank you all so much. You saved all our lives.
That's wonderful news. We're glad you made it okay. We'll make sure the Space Guard gets a relief crew to the Lighthouse as soon as possible to help more colonists reach the planet. Best of luck with your research. Over and out.
Here are the results of the brain scan for Dr. McGregor. Quite an unremarkable brain, if you ask me. But then again, compared with my brain, that's not saying much.
Thank you, Bob. That's very interesting.
What is it, Professor?
Well, I knew McGregor could never have been past fit for this assignment in such a state, so I surmised something must have occurred after he arrived on the Lighthouse. Sure enough, his brain chemistry shows highly increased levels of dopamine, which could lead to psychotic episodes such as he experienced.
So he wasn't really in control of what he was doing?
Correct. And what's more, there are traces of both oxytetracycline and polaron energy in his neocortex that I believe cause the imbalance. Prolonged exposure to the combination of the polaron beams and the gas in the nebula must have this effect on the human brain. He'll be fine after some treatment and time to recover. We'll just need to make sure the crews posted here are rotated regularly from now on to avoid the same issue.
Maybe the Space Guard could use robots instead. What do you think, Bob?
So, I'd be posted here, on my own, without any human company, just interacting with the station computer. Where do I sign?